No mai haere mai. It's the Huddy Hui. Find Huddy Sports on Instagram and Facebook. huddysports.co.nz. Now let's kōrero.
Kia ora, good evening and welcome to the Huddy Hui episode 147, and this is our second Hui of the week, and joining us actually in the studio tonight, and he's experiencing the wild weather of Wellington, wind and rain, is Luke Pearson from Petone. Luke, many thanks for coming on the Hui and for coming here to the Hui studio.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for having us. I'm looking forward to chatting to you.
Now, you actually played on Saturday against Pōnehi, which was a thriller of a game. Thoughts on the game itself?
Yeah, I think from a team perspective, we probably left a little bit out there. We had a lot of changes due to injuries and other circumstances which sort of affected us. We didn't have any continuity, and I felt that sort of affected our clarity in our game and really impacted our performance. But from my own personal perspective, it was a massive honour to make my debut for Petone, and I really enjoyed it and hopefully get a few more opportunities.
Of course, Petone were affected by injuries. We'll come back to those later on. You mentioned it was your debut game for the Petone Premiers. When did you get the call up to the team?
Yeah, so Khan actually mentioned it in the clubhouse after the OBU game. He mentioned that I might be with the Premiers the following week, and then that was sort of followed up by Khan and Cam before Tuesday training, and sort of sent me a few bits to get stuck into and learn before getting into training. So yeah, it was pretty early on in that week. It was nice because it gave me a chance to prepare, sort of get ready for making my debut.
I'll just get you to pull that mic a bit closer because it's just a little bit quiet there, but that might just be the distance there.
Yeah.
But how have you found the difference between playing Premier Rugby compared to the team you regularly play for, which is the Premier Reserves?
Yeah, I think just on Saturday it was more the speed and the tempo of the game. It was a little bit more physical as well. It was just a bit different. But I would say also in the Prem Reserves, we've got a lot of players who are aspiring Premier players, and the standard and quality of that is really good, and we're improving constantly as a team as well.
Petone Premiers have been hit by injuries and illness over the last 2 weeks. Are we seeing some of those players return this week or of the weeks to come?
Yeah, I think last night there was a couple of boys back, and there's a couple of boys who aren't too far away either. So we should be a little bit better placed this week, I think. And obviously the lads who came in last week, like myself, have had another week and getting that continuity, and we should have a little bit more clarity in our game going into the weekend.
What are the work-ons for the team from the Pōnehi game?
Yeah, one thing we sort of touched on last night is, like I mentioned, is clarity in defence. I think we was a little bit hesitant and we let Paniki get on a roll. We didn't get off the line and meet them.
Sorry, a little bit quiet. I don't know why, but anyway, continue.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, so we didn't really go after them at all. But I think that was just because we had a little bit of lack of chat in our defensive line. So we weren't confident in actually getting off the line, meeting them. And that allowed them to sort of get on a roll and make easy yards. So we really focused on that last night, and just being a bit more accurate in our game and cutting out the errors.
As mentioned, you were mainly in the Petone Premier Reserves. They have had a strong season, just the one loss. Currently top of the table. Tell us about the team dynamics in the reserves.
Yeah, we're a pretty tight knit unit. There's some really good players in that team as well. We're all bit of a brotherhood. We look after each other really well on and off the pitch. Try to get quite a lot out of the training as well. It's a mixture of fun and intense training. I just think we've been really tight, and I think that's seen us through a lot of games. I think it's always a sign of a pretty special team. I think on the weekend we were 22-0 down and came back and beat Paniki with almost the last play of the game. So it's a sign of a really good team. We're just sort of taking it one game at a time as well. We don't want to get too carried away. I know we're top, but I think that's where we sort of got caught out at MSP as well, is where we're sort of looking too far ahead.
Yeah, that one loss against Maris St. Pat so far. What were the learnings from that? Because that probably was a bit of an unexpected result.
Yeah, I think we spoke about afterwards. I think the first 20 minutes waited to see what they were about. So we sat off a little bit and we didn't sort of take it to them. And I think since we've sort of spoke about imposing ourselves on the game the first 20 minutes and not waiting to see what the other teams are about. So the following week against Stories, we started really well, and that sort of set the tempo and the game up for us. And then also against MSP, we got um we got done big time at the breakdown. I think they really targeted us at the breakdown. They've got a lot of jackals. And we got schooled a bit there. So I think we've done a lot of work since that game of really honing in on our skills around the breakdown. We've done a lot with the coaches and stuff. So we're a lot better set, I think, and I don't think it's a bad thing. It probably reset us a little bit to carry on for the rest of the season.
Coaching staff of the reserves, what do they bring to the team?
Yeah, so CU, Jeff, and Double O, they've all got their own styles. What they've done is they've created a really simple game plan, which has allowed us to have clarity in our game, and especially in the Prem Reserves level where you get a lot of chopping and changing with it being injuries or players going up to Prem, where players can just sort of slot in and pick that up. And also they've created a really good culture. We've been out for a team meal, like we've done a few bits with clean up. We've got a really good culture where we look after each other, and it's a really good group, and we're doing well. I think that sort of shows where we are in the table.
You play number 8, as you did for the Premiers on Saturday. Is that your main position? If so, why?
Yeah, a bit of a mixture to be honest. So back in the UK, I played predominantly lock or six, but especially at lock, I was probably 5 or 6 kilos heavier. Some big lads over there as well, so I needed to be. And I've sort of lost sort of 5 kilos on that, and I probably prefer 6 or 8 now. I'm happy either way. To be honest, I like being in the loose, so I feel like I can have a little bit more impact on the game. But also, um, in the UK, I've always sort of called the line outs. So that's predominantly normally a role of a lock who normally does that. I think you see that quite often. It's just been adapting to that as well. I've not obviously called them over here. That's a completely different position in the line out as well, because you're reacting off someone else's call, where when you're calling the line outs, you know exactly what you're going to call based on the picture. That's took a little bit of a step back and learning that role as well.
Have you found the Petone Rugby Football Club, and who welcomed you to the club?
Yeah, I've absolutely loved it. There's some brilliant people there. If I give shout outs, I'd be here all night. Like, there's a lot of people who've looked after me. It first sort of came about. I was playing in the UK, and my junior club and home club is Cleckheaton Rugby Union, and they've got the Piper family there, and
Yep.
obviously Ryan's the coach out here, and he's from Cleckheaton as well.
Yeah.
So I sort of mentioned it to them, and they put me in touch with Ryan, who sort of passed me on to Aaron Jones, and he did a little bit and put me in place with sort of living over here and getting in touch with coaches and stuff, and he sort of set me up there. Then from that, I just sort of got here and hit the ground running. Live with Viv and Scott. I just thought I'd better give them a shout out because they look after me everywhere. They take me everywhere, so it's a really nice environment to be in. And they've sort of welcomed me and took me down to even events like the Petone Touch. As I got here, that was in the summer. They took me down to there and got to meet a few people down there. So there's just a lot going on, and really enjoyed being down at that club. It's a great community feel as well.
Now, of course, the club last weekend celebrated 140 years. What was it like to be an international player experiencing a significant milestone for the Petone Rugby Club?
Yeah, it was pretty special to be there on Friday night. I think I really enjoyed being a part of it, and also seeing ex-Petone players come back from their professional setups and giving a little bit back to the club game. So obviously, Brad Shields there was pretty cool, and just having people up on stage telling their stories, it was really nice to listen to. And as someone who's an outsider, I didn't know quite a lot of the things what had gone on and how the history of the 140 years had developed. So that was really interesting and pretty special to be part of.
Now, one of the questions I asked you before we started this podcast tonight is, what do you do during the week?
Yeah, so I'm working for Health New Zealand in the accounts payable department, so just processing invoices day to day. I'm there till sort of the 18th of July, which nearly takes us through for the full rugby season. I'm an accountant back in the UK as well, so it's quite nice to have something that's reasonably transferable to that role. But yeah, work sort of 7:30 till 3:30. It's pretty steady hours, and they're quite happy for me to go a little bit early if I've got rugby or whatever. So yeah, it's a perfect little job for while I'm in New Zealand.
Well, there's plenty of rugby games on Wednesdays over the next month, or over this month in particular. A
Yeah.
big game next week between Wellington College and Silverstream. You'll have to experience that.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, definitely.
Now, as mentioned, you are from the United Kingdom. Whereabouts in the United Kingdom are you from?
Yeah, so I currently live in a little village called South Milford with my girlfriend Molly. So that's just outside of Leeds. Out in the sticks, it's just a little village. And then my mum and dad were sort of raised near Huddersfield. So yeah, it's pretty much rugby league and football heartland. It's very much that way inclined.
And of course, rugby union up there must be a bit of a struggle to get in there because it's, as you said, it's really a football but a rugby league town as well.
Yeah, so Yorkshire itself, the region, it doesn't have a professional rugby union team. So the nearest team is Sale, which is about an hour away over the Pennines in Lancashire. But yeah, it is a bit of a power struggle. There is a lot of amateur teams there, but you are competing very much with football. Football dominates sort of UK landscape in general.
I have to ask you, you must be a Leeds United supporter, are you?
Massive Leeds United fan, yeah. I've been waiting for you to ask me that. Yeah, I follow them all the time. Yeah, I've been up a few times, 2-3 a.m. to watch the running. They've just got promoted back to the Premier League, so pretty chuffed about that. I actually went to Wembley last year as well.
Oh, yeah.
They lost in that playoff final, which is pretty heartbreaking.
Yeah, well, of course, this year they didn't have to worry about that, didn't they? They got
Yeah.
direct qualification. So good to see Leeds back in there as well. But you telling me that you were, you played not so much junior rugby, you're more of a rugby league player growing up. Is that correct?
Yeah, so that was reasonably later on as well. So I sort of started with football, and that was at 5 or 6. And most people in England, it is football dominated. And I sort of played all the way through. I knew pretty early on, like, never going to be out special, but I was a talker. And I played centre back, and I really enjoyed that. And then I started playing rugby league as well a little bit. That was from about 9 or 10 years old, and then I was quite small then. And I got bashed up a little bit. I broke my collarbone and sort of fell out of love with it, and just sort of stuck to football a bit. And then I was in school at 14, and a few of my friends they were playing rugby union, and I thought I'd give it a crack, and never really looked back since.
Yeah. And what position did you play in football and rugby league?
So in football, played centre back. So just at the back, heading, tackling, anything.
It's a good position to be.
Yeah, just getting stuck in really. And then at rugby league, I actually played. I wasn't the biggest, but I still played prop. So yeah, I was just carrying it up all the time, really, getting stuck in.
Do you have a rugby league team that you follow in the UK, a Super League?
Yeah, I used to follow Leeds Ryan when I was growing up. Probably faded a little bit now. I don't follow it too much. But since I've been over here, I've been following the Wars. They've been doing really well this year, so it's a good year for that. So I've been getting stuck into that.
And have you found the difference between rugby league in the UK here to the Australasian competition?
It's like 100 times bigger over here. I think it's everything. I think even just watching the build-up shows in the NRL, I think it's like an hour and a half build-up to every game. I think they really go for it. It's not as well advertised in the UK, and it's very much traditionally the north of England, where as obviously in Australia, it's played all the way from Melbourne up to North Queensland.
So you mentioned you eventually moved into rugby. Where did that begin for you? Was that at school or at a junior sort of club?
Yeah, so that was at Cleckheaton Rugby Union Club. So that was where all my friends were playing. So we didn't actually play rugby union at school. We played rugby league and football again.
Yes.
So, so yeah, I wasn't too far away from the school, and just sort of stuck with that, and because I was a bit of a talker, I was actually playing fly half when I first started, and I was all the way till I was 17, which is a bit mad looking back. And yeah, just sort of grew from there and just playing with my mates, and we really enjoyed it, and we did pretty well as well. So it's nice, and you end up. It's not like rugby over here where you have the break from
Yeah.
starting in juniors and you come back. You just carry on playing all the way through.
Yeah.
And that's till under 19, and then
Yeah.
you make the jump up to senior rugby and then go from there.
What school did you attend? And was rugby? Was it like? Was there quite big traditionals at school level, or unlike here in New Zealand?
I went to Wycliffe Mount
Yeah.
School in Cleckheaton, so not too far again from the rugby club. But yeah, there wasn't too much of that. There's a few schools in and around us where in rugby league it got pretty tasty, to be honest.
Oh yes. Yep.
Yeah, there wasn't too much rivalry though, of rugby league and football. And then there's also a fair bit of cricket as well. Give my hand at that. I wasn't the best at that either. Just tried. I tried carrying on with that until the early 20s. Still want any better. So
No.
yeah, yeah, there wasn't too much of that. I think quite enjoy the finding out about the school system over here as well.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot more going on. It's a lot more promoted. But I think you also get that with it being sort of the national sport in New Zealand, whereas in the UK it's sort of probably the third most popular sport after football and cricket.
Yeah.
Been pretty cool finding out about that.
How is actually, before we go to that question, club rugby in the UK? You mentioned what clubs you played for over there. What were those clubs you played for?
Yeah, so I obviously came through the juniors at Cleckheaton Rugby Union, and then alongside that played at Huddersfield University, which there were some really talented players in that as well, but also players who just wanted to enjoy the game little bit more. And then from that, I wanted to sort of push myself a little bit more. So I went to Ilkley for a little bit, which was one division higher than Cleckheaton at the time. And I had a couple of years there, and I wanted to push myself again, and then went to Huddersfield Rugby Union,
Yep.
which is in the National 2 League. So it's sort of Premiership, Championship, National 1, National 2. So level 4, and that's where you get, I'd say it's probably similar to Premiers over here, where you get lads who are trying to push on and be professional players almost. I think that was starting to get a lot more serious. I did 3 seasons there, and I really enjoyed it, my time there. And then the last season before I came out here, I was back at Cleckheaton, and that was below, and I absolutely loved that as well. Being back with the lads who I grew up playing with and came out with. So yeah, I've been at 3 or 4 clubs, and really got into that and tried pushing myself.
Brilliant. And of course, the English Premiership, the premier competition in England, is into the semi-finals now. Do you have a team in that competition that you follow?
I've been to a couple of Sale games this year.
Yep.
I'm hoping they do a job, but I can't really see past Bath, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think they're too strong. They've got a really powerful bench as well.
Yep.
So I don't think any teams could sort of live with that. I think they're on pit, and then they've got Finn Russell as well pulling the strings.
Do you think it'll be a Bath Bristol final?
Possibly. I'm not banking on that. I'm not 100% on Bristol.
Yeah.
They probably play the most expansive style in England, but sometimes it could be also their undoing. So I think Bath will definitely.
How is club rugby different in the UK compared to what you've experienced in New Zealand?
Yeah, I've really enjoyed sort of learning about the New Zealand culture and also the club rugby, because the club rugby and the professional games a lot closer links. So you get players who obviously Super Rugby. You would never get that in the UK, where they would play 1 week for the club and then the next week playing Super Rugby. I really enjoy that sort of side of it, and everyone feels a lot more accessible, like the players. Where the UK, you probably get picked up early on. Most players go to like private schools, and then they're in the academy system, and then that's them. They'll have their career at sort of big teams, the big Premiership teams. Just the general difference though is sort of the playing style as well. So there's a lot more box kicking. I think I've only seen about 2 box kicks while I've been here. to be honest. There's a lot more teams won't really have a go from inside
Yeah.
their own half too much. We've like to have a lot of set piece and the ball's out a lot more. There's a lot more line out calls, but that's not because it's different in terms of tempo. It's just because the ball goes out that much that you need to be a little bit more creative with your calls as well, where everything's done on speed here, which I quite enjoy, to be honest, because it's sort of backing your skill sets a bit more. But yeah, played up a hut in pre-season. I'd been sort of here 5 days and up, tapped the ball from just outside their own 22, and I'm thinking, what have I let myself into? Yeah, I've just been playing club rugby in the UK and watching box kick after box kick, but it's just completely different styles as well.
Has rugby taken you anywhere else overseas?
We've not playing properly. Obviously, we've been in the UK, you're not close to Europe, so we've done a couple of European tours and played in the Netherlands and also played in Poland on tours, but they were mainly a bit more culture driven than actual playing. If you get me, they want too much rugby actually being played there. But the Eton, who I play for, they tend to try and go on tour every single year. It's the end of the season, and they'll just do a game and sort of get to know all the local bars, really. I think.
Now, here in New Zealand, each club has their own way of honouring significant achievements, whether it be certain starts or number of games. Is it similar to club footy up your way, up in Northern England?
Yeah, there is definitely that. When you play 21st team appearances at Eton, you get your first team tie. So you don't get that before then. And then that's sort of like your mark of honour to do that. And then also on your 20th appearance, I remember doing this, you had to do a yard of ale in front of the full clubhouse.
Warm ale, was it?
Yeah, it was. I think it might be. I think it was. Yeah, I'm not too keen on ale, to be honest. But yeah, it was. You have to do a yard of ale. It's not pretty, to be honest.
No.
I think it's quite a lot. And then it's quite nice to see something similar here. Obviously, your first team debut, you do like a jug and a bit of a ceremony and stuff, and really welcomed in. So it's nice to see that them sort of rugby values, sort of are all across the globe.
How'd you go with your drink you had to have at Petone after your debut?
I won it just.
Just.
Piri won't mind me mentioning it. He made a bit of a mess of my shoes afterwards, so stitch him up there.
Now, of course, there was a few players that made their debut on that day as well. Yourself and Pity Bradshaw as well.
Yeah, there was Marco Venter as well.
Marco Venter,
and then Archie, who played from the Colts, he was only 18. And he had a real impact when he came on as well, so really impressive. Good player. But Marco did really well, held his own as well. And then Piri, actually, he'd played for the Premiership before, so he played the full game and then came on as well. So he did really well. He would have done a lot better than I did after playing 80 minutes, definitely. So he did really well. So it was nice for a few of our team and Archie, obviously from the Colts, to sort of have our opportunity.
Yeah, and of course, always ask these series of questions with guests I have on. What's the biggest strength of your game?
Yeah, I actually think it's my work rate. I think there is more talented players out there, but I always think on a game day, if I outwork my opposite number, that's going to go a long way for me getting the better of them.
Yep.
I always pride myself on my fitness, being really fit and sort of being really high up on the stats, if that's for tackles, carries, rucks. And I think that's sort of like a non-negotiable I have with myself. It's not really a skill, it's more that sort of my mindset that I really want to outwork my opponent.
Is there one game that you've played where you've learnt the most about yourself as a player?
I remember one game what really sticks out to me. Played, I think it's like under 15s or 16s, and it still haunts me to this day. Is played Wharfdale away in the Cup, and this is up in the Yorkshire Dales, so it's really exposed. It's pretty playing near a lot of farmland and stuff, and I had an absolute shocker, to be honest. Like I was playing fly half, I dropped every ball, I missed every tackle. I think I got yanked off after about 30 minutes, and I sort of put it on myself afterwards that I'd never sort of do that again, and I'd make sure I prepared a bit better. And that was only at 15, but I've always sort of made sure I'm a lot more prepared. I think I went into that game a bit casual, and wasn't taking it as seriously as I should, and I sort of made sure that I've always been a lot more focused since. Even though I was quite a young lad then, but that still haunts me now.
Some players have some sort of superstition or superstitious things to prepare themselves before a game. Do you have any quirks of the nature?
I don't have anything on match day. I always tend to have pasta the night before. That is just my staple. I'll try even if I go eating out somewhere, try to molly to an Italian or something, so I can still have pasta. Still try and get my tradition in. Yeah, so yeah, that's my only thing really.
Yeah. What's been your best moment playing rugby?
Yeah, I think under 19s, our Colts team. So that's like the last year of Colts. We won like the Yorkshire Cup plate, and we weren't really fancied in that final. So it's a straight knockout competition as well. So it's not like that wasn't like a league format. That was alongside the league. So it was straight knockout all the way through to the final. And we played Sheffield Tigers. They were in the division above, and they really fancied themselves to win. I know they turned up with like bottles of champagne, and they were already
ready to celebrate. Yeah.
And we turned them over, and that was pretty prestigious, to be honest. Like, it was a massive win for the club as well. That was one of my big moments. And then from a personal perspective as well, I captained Cleckheaton Rugby, and I think I was only 19. I was youngest captain in so many years, which is quite an honour as well. It was only for a couple of games. We had a couple of injuries, but still a massive privilege, especially for the junior club and some of the players that have been there before.
Of course, Petone's captain is actually overseas at the moment. He's a young fella as well. And you're sort of filling in his place at the moment. Connor Tuivale. Tell us about him.
Yeah, I've not spoken too much to him, especially obviously being away the last couple of weeks. But the other leaders in the group have made me feel really welcome. Jermaine, obviously being captain this week, just gone. He's really put his arm around us and welcomed us in. And then when I have spoke with Connor in the rooms, he's just about rugby and just making sure everything away from rugby is also right. Yeah. If you're not right away from the field, you're not going to perform your best on the game. Yeah. So there's a really caring environment there. All the leaders, like I said, Jermaine, and then obviously Jordan Bradbrook as well. He played over in the UK at Heath, which is like big arch rivals of Cleckheaton. So he gives me a bit of stick about that. But yeah, he messages us quite a bit as well. Just checks we're all right and asking how the game went and stuff. And obviously the coaches, Karen and Cam, have been great as well since last week, and just kept an eye on us and message going well.
I think some of the players might be trying to prank you tonight. That's why you put your phone off on silent. Yeah. Is that right? So
yeah, that is correct. I've Josh Tanner, who plays scrum half, he said he was going to ring me halfway through, so I made sure. But I've turned my phone off. Yeah, he gives me a lot of lifts to training as well.
Yeah,
I think that was done.
Yeah. Who's been the biggest influences in your rugby career?
Yeah, I've probably got two. I'd say one of them is definitely my old man, my dad.
Yeah.
It was just the hours growing up as a kid, driving about and taking you everywhere, and it was an impact. And even now, he's watched any games that he could get his hands on while I've been over here. He's watched them, and he always gives us a little bit of feedback. So I always look out for that still. Yeah. It's quite cool. But yeah, he put a lot of hours in when I was younger, sort of taking us here, there, and everywhere. And some of the games are quite far away as well. Yeah. So, and then one of the coaches at Cleckheaton growing up, he's called Patch.
Yeah.
But he was from a rugby league background, and he sort of came in, and obviously I was new to the game, and he sort of took us under his wing and sort of really got me up to speed with the game.
Yeah.
And I think that had a massive influence on us growing up. And I think from sort of his team growing up as well, there were like 5 or 6 lads in that team who went on and played for the first grade in Cleckheaton, so he sort of showed his impact on the club.
Yeah, exactly right. Speaking about your parents, they got up 2 o'clock in the morning over there in the UK to watch you on Saturday. What was it? What's the temperature like over there at the moment?
Yeah, well, it's actually still warmer here even today, where it's shocking and raining than it actually is back in the UK. I think it's meant to warm up next week, but yeah, you sort of get used to it when you're over
Yeah,
there. I think a lot of rugby as well is played in 3 or 4 degrees
yeah,
cold. You have a lot of rest weeks put into the season just because like games getting called off of frost
yeah.
and bits and pieces. It has a big impact.
And of
Weather's not.
course, you mentioned you have those rest weeks, but actually, one of the weeks you were supposed to play before Christmas, mentioned was when that big Arctic storm came through. And tell us about that because that was quite. You'd probably hate to play in the conditions like that.
Yeah, yeah. It wasn't great, but what tends to happen is them rest weeks end up being game weeks because they get rearranged pretty
Yeah,
quickly. We've played in a couple of awful conditions here at home. Um, Played a game against it was Cleckheaton versus Sandal, and the wind was sort of what it is today, and it's swirling. It was 2 degrees
yeah,
outside, which obviously it feels like it's -5, -6.
yeah.
We wanted it wasn't too bad, but it's not nice to play in. I think you just get on with it because everyone else is getting on with it. If that makes sense, not nice.
We're also talking about next month the Lions tour, British and Irish
Yeah,
Lions tour Australia next month. How do you think that Lions team will go?
yeah. I think they'll win the series, but I think it will be. I think
Yeah,
it'll be 2-1. I think Australia always find a way of raising the game, especially for a Lions series, and also they showed signs in the autumn they were sort of getting their
mm,
act together. They ran Ireland close. They obviously beat England. So I
yeah.
think it'd be a really good series. Obviously, not too far away time and stuff. So I'm gonna make sure I stay up on evenings and watch them games. So I'm pretty excited for that. I think I'm gonna start turning up to training in Lions gear soon as well. So yeah, no, that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, 2-1, I reckon, to the Lions.
Yeah, and of course the English rugby team. Of course, there's a World Cup in 2 years' time. Um, how do you think they've been tracking along? And they're playing the All Blacks later this year as well. I think from memory.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
they've definitely shown signs of improvement. So obviously they finished pretty well in Six Nations. They beat France at home, which is
mm,
a massive scalp. Uh, France had a bit of an off day that day, though. They had
yeah,
5 or 6 opportunities where they knocked the ball on in England. England's 22. But they've definitely been getting better and better and showing the hand a bit more. I actually think when back to sort of 2019, I don't want to bring that England New Zealand game up, but
it's rough. Yeah,
that was when they was actually playing their best rugby,
yeah,
and it was great to watch as well. It was real
yeah,
strong. It was a power game, and they
yeah.
weren't afraid when they actually got in the opposition half to really have a go at
Mm,
teams, which is not traditionally England's way. And then they sort of got bullied a bit by South Africa in the final,
yeah,
and never really gone back to that style, even
yeah,
regardless of the coaches. But we're starting to show glimpses of it.
yeah,
I think he's settled a bit more with his back line as well. I think Finn
yeah.
Smith looks he's going to
Pretty
be a
good.
really good player. I think
Yeah, he's going to be a.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think if he gets opportunity on Lions tour, get some minutes probably behind Russell, I think he'll shine.
This Saturday, the villagers travel out to Houston Park, which you've been told about is quite an intimidating ground. At Johnsonville, you've got to play this Saturday. Um, Sort of talking to club members from Club Rugby during the week. I think that probably not since the 1990s, Tony have been beaten by Johnsonville. Um, Johnsonville currently sitting around fourth on the table. Tony third. What will the Premiers have to watch out for against the Hawks this Saturday?
Yeah, I think we spoke as a group last night and sort of mentioned it's a really tough place to go. It's
Mm.
quite a tight ground. I don't really know what to expect up there, but the boys were saying it's quite a
You'll,
tight ground.
you'll
It's
get plenty of opinions from up on the hill.
Yeah, I don't mind that. It's fine. It's fine. They say what they like. It's fine. But yeah, no, I think we're expecting another real physical battle up there. We just spoke about being really accurate and having clarity in our game, and I think a lot of it's on us. We
Yeah.
probably didn't show the best version of ourselves last week. We want to put that right this week.
And of course, the reserves playing Johnsonville as well. How are they preparing for that challenge? Because they're currently about fifth on the table, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think what we've sort of said as a group for Prem Reserves as well is that just obviously we're top at the moment, that could quickly change.
yeah,
And just think with our team, with the ability we have, it's more the mental side and making sure we turn up every week and give the best version of ourselves.
yeah,
One thing I've noticed when we've played the big games, so we've played Tower or Auries, whoever, is the meet time's not till 11:30 and
yeah,
everyone's there at like 10 to 11 and you could just tell, you look in people's eyes and you know they're on, like,
yeah,
and sort of said we need to be doing that every week now. And I
yeah,
think difference now is probably sort of see the finish line as well. So if you just sort of take it a game at a time from now on in, quickly get to that point. So yeah, we're not underestimating them at all either. I think we know it'll be a tough ask again. Obviously going to be some changes again this
yeah.
week. It will be a tough ask with the game plan we've got and the players
Mm.
we've got. We're hoping that should see us right.
Will you be playing back for the reserves, or will you potentially be with the Premiers? You probably don't know yet, do you?
No, I don't know fully yet.
Yeah.
I think there's been talk of me being with the Premiers, but I'll wait and see. Find out tomorrow, which is pretty cool. I'm happy either way, to be honest. I'm enjoying my time
Yeah.
in both teams and both in really good spots as well. Have a crack at both competitions.
Now, one thing we always do with our guests this year is we go through the predictions for the Premier grade and Wellington, and also the top first 15 grade as well. Now, you've played against some of these clubs, and some yet you have to, but basing on form, it's the bottom place team Avalon at home against the top team Auries, who Petone, I mean, sorry, don't get me wrong, Petone have played against both teams. Who do you think should win this one?
Yeah, go for Auries. I watched a bit of them as well. I was quite impressed when I saw that Premiers game against Petone. So,
Yeah.
and they're the team to beat out there.
Yeah, and I think they've pretty much got the Swindale Shield locked away for the first round, so no one really can catch them. Of course, your game, Johnsonville Petone, we've talked about. I think Petone should continue that streak, but it's going to be tough, eh?
Yeah, I think we'll get back to winning ways. I think quite confident. I think as long as we do our jobs right and turn up with the right intent, I think we should be there or thereabouts.
Norths and Parramatta Plymoughton. Parramatta Plymoughton in the top 8. Norths down in the bottom half. It's Norths Old Timers Day at Jerry Collins Stadium.
Ooh, I'd have probably gone with Paramount. I can't say it, but I'd have gone with them. I don't want to do them a disservice, so but maybe with North's Old Timers Day. Just putting a bit of a performance for that. So
I'll go Parramatta Plymoughton on that one. Old Boys University, it's also their Old Timers Day as well, and they're taking on Marist St. Pat's at Rugby League Park.
Yeah, I'll go OBU. I think their league position doesn't suggest the quality of their team. I don't suggest where they actually are as a team as well. I think you mentioned they've been in some really tight games and just sort of struck unlucky. So back them to.
Yeah, I think they'll sneak home against Marist St. Pat's, but one of the things, they're actually still a possibility to make the top 8. They have a hell of a lot of bonus points, and they've got a pretty easy run home in the last 4 rounds, so they could potentially sneak in depending on certain results. Pornicky, who you played against last week, they're at home against Huddy Boys Marist, and Hutt narrowly went down to Auries last week, and a few weeks' time you might get to experience what the McBain Shield's all about. So who do you think's going to win this one?
Yeah, I think based on that, I think that'll be a really tight game.
Yeah.
Going to back Paniki with home advantage just to sort of just see it over the line. I think obviously they're on a bit of a run. They turned us over last week. So, yeah, be really tight though. Yeah,
I'm going to go Pornicky on that one. Wainui Armada versus Upper Hutt out at William Jones Park in Wainui.
Yeah, I fancy Upper Hutt for that one. I saw a bit of that game as well against Petone earlier on in the season. They've got quite a big pack as well.
Yeah.
Scrum went really well that day as well. So
and I'll go Upper Hutt on that one. As much as the Wainui people are great people out there, I think Upper Hutt just have that little bit more, particularly in the backs as well. And of course, to close out, round 10 is the Axemen up against Tawa at Tai Park.
Yeah, I'll go Tawa.
Yeah, I'm going to go Tawa on that one as well. Now, I don't know if you actually saw today's first 15 traditional. It was on our YouTube page. You're probably busy paying people's bills and invoices.
I was
so you
busy
probably
working.
didn't get around to going. But Wellington College had a good win against Rongotai College, 74 points to 3. I think what I'll say here is I'd like to thank our team out there that filled in my stead. Today you did a sterling job, and the gears back here, most of it's all drying out because it was so wet and sodden. But great work to our cameraman, Tamati Richards, who did a great job up there in the rain. And also the commentary team today, Phil Cartney with his debut. That was an outstanding call behind the mic, so well done, Phil, alongside Jimmy Lawler and Bede Brown, who is a Rongotai boy, played for Porniki last week. And also to Ollie Mickey, who Premier referee, teacher at Wellington College, and managed to operate our live streaming device. So thank you for that today. And challenging conditions. And speaking of which, first 15 rugby round 3 this weekend. Huddy International Boys School versus WRFU. You probably don't know too much about these teams, but who are you going to just pick one?
Go with Hutt.
You're going to go with Hut? Yeah, Hut at home. They're at their NZCIS. Have you ever been up to that sports centre up there yet?
I haven't yet, no.
We'll have to get you up there. It's a brilliant facility. So it's where all the Hurricanes and Phoenix and all that train out of. So they're playing on field number 3 out there at 1 o'clock. St. Pat's Silverstream taking on the Marist Brothers School, St. Bernard's. Silverstream had a good win against WRFU.
Yeah,
16-0,
yeah, Silverstream. I know there's a few ex-Petone boys who played for Silverstream as well. So
and that's my old stomping ground as well. So I think Silverstream will win that one. Over the hill in Marston, Wairarapa College taking on Tawa. It's a midday kickoff there this Saturday. It's always a challenging place to go over the hill to the countryside and the Wairarapa.
Yeah, I'll go with Wairarapa. I think. Yeah, I think it's quite a bit away into it as well. I think it's a bit further than the games around here. So.
It is, yeah. That's good. I've got just over an hour and so drive over there. So I think Wairarapa College on that one. And the game that we're doing on Huddy Sports this Saturday is the last of the round 3 games in the Wellington First 15 Premiership. St. Pat's Town taking on Scots College. St. Pat's narrowly went down to Wellington College in round 1 on the first traditional of the year. And they had a good win last week against Wairarapa College, yes, because the other St. Pat's played WRFU. They're taking on Scots, who narrowly beat Tower round 1 and defaulted to Wellington College last week. These two played pre-season at the start of May, and St. Pat's won. A lot of confusion about what the score was. It was either 60 points to something or 80 points to something, but I think St. Pat's Town will do the number on Scots again.
Yeah, I'll go St. Pat's, definitely.
Yeah, it's at home at Evans Bay Park, and if it's going to be weather like today, and also you're going to experience the good old southerly wind in Wellington, which is probably quite similar to the conditions you have in Northern England. So it could be a bit colder on Saturday, so make sure you've got plenty of warm clothing with you. Now, of course, also Old Boys University, I mentioned having their Old Timers Day, and it's also the 10-year reunion of their Premier winning side that won the Jubilee Cup in 2015 out at Jerry Collins Stadium, and so they're having a catch up, and it's also the theme of their Black Tie dinner, so that's a big celebration for them this weekend. At this stage, Whether the Pending will be live streaming you the hockey from Alston Park and Pro at 4 o'clock tomorrow. College Sport Wellington Prem Free, Whitby Collegiate taking on St. Bernard's in that game. That will kick off. Coverage of that will start about 3:45. And, of course, we've got our game this Saturday, St. Pat's Town versus Scots College, Evans Bay Park, 2:30 p.m. That coverage will start at 2:15. And, of course, next week is episode 148, next Wednesday of the Huddy Hui. Luke, many thanks for coming on the Hui tonight. I hope you've enjoyed your time in New Zealand. You know, you're working until about July. And once the rugby season started, what are you doing post the rugby season?
Yeah, so we're going to have a bit of a break from rugby. So my girlfriend Molly, she's coming out at the end of July. We're travelling around New Zealand. We want to see a bit more of the country. So I'm meeting her up in Auckland. We're coming back down to Wellington. I've factored in a few days so I can show her Petone. And then we're going down to the South Island. Going to do a bit of travelling down there. Incredible.
Down to Queenstown and Invercargill and Dunedin.
Yeah, down to Queenstown, definitely. Both done a little bit of skiing before as well, so I'm going to give that a go. It should be pretty cool. And then do Milford Sound as well, the day trip. Which
beautiful wheel down there.
Yeah, so it should be nice to just see all that as well and take that in as an experience. It'll be amazing.
And you're going to experience an All Black test over here, an home All Black test.
Yeah, so I'm going to go to All Blacks v France in July, which should be pretty cool. I think see sort of the haka live performed by the All Blacks will be amazing. Hoping France bring a sort of a good team. There's rumours of being a bit of a second string team, which would be a shame because you always think of France All Blacks having some really good clashes over the years. So it'd be cool to see that in.
I think you're also trying to probably go to the All Black England Test end of the year as well.
Yeah, that's in November. So go watch that at Twickenham and see it from the other side. I think it'd be nice now I've seen it over here as well and understand how it all feeds into that. I think you can appreciate it a lot more.
Yeah.
Because you don't hear too much about Southern Hemisphere rugby at home. Like the All Blacks Australia will come over, they'll play, and then that's sort of it.
Yeah.
But nice to. I've been following Super Rugby this season as well. So that's good. Went to Hurricanes and Crusaders, which was lovely as well. So great experience to see that at Sky Stadium. Cool. So be nice.
And of course, the Hurricanes have a quarter-final against the Brumbies this weekend, and we went over there 4 weeks ago, so let's hope they get the W over there as well. So that's been the Huddy Hui for tonight. Many thanks to Luke Pearson, and keep dry and warm. It's going to be a bit of a colder weekend as winter has finally arrived in Wellington. I am Brad Hudson. Ciao for now.
The Huddy Hui. You can find Huddy Sports on Instagram and Facebook. And check out huddysports.co.nz.
Blocked drains, leaky pipes, don't let plumbing problems sideline your day. Call the team, Mike Pinfold Plumbing and Drain Laying Limited. Mike has been our sponsor since the very beginning, from quick fixes to full renovations. He's got the tools, the team, and the know-how to get the job done right. First time, every time. Local, reliable, and always on time. That's how Mike plays the game. Find Mike Pinfold at Pinfold Plumbing at extra.co.nz 027 430 4351. Mike Pinfold Plumbing and Drain Laying Limited. Also Google Mike Pinfold Plumbing and let the pros handle the flow.
Hi, Gavin Murphy here
And Cassie Murphy.
from G and Higton Funeral Directors.
Don't leave it up to someone else to tell your story. Do it now when you can enjoy being part of the conversation.
With a prepaid funeral, you can have music, readings and venue all chosen by you.
For your free funeral planning pack with everything you need to get started, go to our website at gnhigton.co.nz/pre-planning.
The Huddy Hui. Huddy Sports captivating sports show. The Huddy Hui covers Wellington Club Rugby as well as other sporting topics of debate. Tune in on YouTube during the rugby playing months as host Brad Hudson interviews rugby players and other sporting personalities across the Wellington region and the rest of New Zealand. Catch the Huddy Hui streaming on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and wherever good yarns are heard. The Huddy Hui live on Huddy Sports. Here at Huddy Sports, we love a good game plan. And when it comes to travel, our go-to is Louise Reddy from New Zealand Travel Brokers. Whether it's a sports tour, a family break, or that bucket list trip, she'll get you there stress-free with all the best deals around. She's local, she's experienced, and she backs the game like we do, and she's a great supporter of Huddy Sports. Look up Louise Reddy at louisereddy.nztravelbrokers.co.nz or email louise@louise.reddy@newzealandtravelbrokers.co.nz. Travel smart and travel like a pro. As here on Huddy Sports, we're always wanting to keep our content free. on YouTube. So the idea of sponsors, we can promote you on live stream, our social media pages and our website. It's good to support the local community and helps keep Huddy Sport free for all to watch. So if you're interested to helping Huddy Sports, go to huddysports.co.nz or to our email address, huddysportsnz@gmail.com. Ciao for now.